Hello, Natasha. Welcome to this Therapist Spotlight, Therapist Corner. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Pleasure. So today's about finding out your private practice journey. I know you're kind of recently joined Therapist Corner, haven't you? So I don't know much about it, so I'm learning for the first time as well. But can you tell us what led you to kind of consider private practice? How did it all start?
Yeah, so I've been a CBT therapist for over 10 years now. And one of my friends, she kind of started it about 4 or 5 years ago. So I've always kind of keenly followed like what she's been doing, but I just never felt it was the right time. I knew I wanted to have a baby, and so I had my daughter nearly 5 years ago now, and then yeah, having a small child and working in the NHS like felt like enough at the time. But yeah, there came this kind of sliding doors moment where she was going to school, and since she was born and since I returned from mat leave, I had a Thursday off with her, and um, when she went to school, it meant that this Thursday was going to become free. And it was almost a decision between going back to the NHS full time or just kind of giving private practice a go. So I just thought, well, it's worth trying. Like, it's kind of, I'm not losing out on anything. I feel like I can only gain things.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just felt like a bit of an experiment, really, but I've been really enjoying it.
So when was that? How long have you been in kind of private practice now?
Yeah, so just since September 2023, yeah. So I literally kind of launched my website a week after she started school.
Right. And what was the key to making you decide? Was it just that kind of sliding doors moment? Or
Yeah, well, I just thought I mean, first of all, to be honest, going back full time in the NHS was just a bit kind of daunting anyway, because it's all like I'm already there 4 days a week, and it would just be more of the same. And being in IAPT or talking therapies as it is now is, for 10 years, like I'm very familiar with it. I just really felt like trying something new. So it was about February that I started thinking about it. And I always said that so I've been a CBT therapist for that long, but I said, well, if I train in something else, then I'll feel like I might, I'll have more strings to my bow kind of thing. And I did my EMDR training at the start of the year. And I was like, well, you always said that if you had another modality, you'd go private. So what are you waiting for? So in
well,
February, I just kind of told people, I was like, oh, well, when Alana goes back to school, I'm going to do private practice. And everyone was like, oh, that's great. But I had like no prep at that point. So I kind of set myself a plan between February and September to kind of just like slowly kind of chip away at everything that would need doing, including building a website, which I had no idea how to do,
mhm.
um, to ready to launch in September. And I thought as well that if I did return full time in the NHS, then it would be kind of tough then to like drop a day.
Yeah,
Whereas rather
yeah.
than it would be like if I hope this isn't the case, but if this doesn't work out, then I can just go back full time. But I just thought, they're not so keen on people like upping days and dropping days. And actually, they're just very used to me not being there on a Thursday. So literally no one is negatively affected by this. So it was only positive.
Absolutely. Did you have any initial fears though?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, part of the reason I wanted a second modality is because I had just massive imposter syndrome. I was just like, well, there's a zillion CBT therapists. Um, why would anyone like be interested in working with me? Um, but after I did the EMDR training, and I've also done a lot of like other training kind of off my own back in compassion focused therapy and ACT. Um, and I'd worked with what I perceived to be like more tricky people um, in the last few years. And I did a presentation at work about complex trauma, and people come to me and ask me questions about that, and I was like, I must know stuff, like. So
Yeah,
I
it's
just
tricky,
thought,
isn't it? We've got all these knowledge and skills, but it's normal to you, so it's difficult to see it objectively.
yeah, exactly. And I just thought, well, I'll just give it a go. But yeah, I was kind of, I think I almost needed that run up. How many months is that? It's like 7 months, like
Really
psychologically.
nice, that runway to kind of getting started. I think it's a lovely way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I kind of didn't spook myself off either. If I'd kind of said in July, right, you need to start in September, I'd be like, oh no, like I'll just ring my manager and up my hours.
Yeah.
But because I was like, you've got ages, like I did it on a Sunday morning. So my husband took my daughter off to the playground, and I just like sat here with my spreadsheet of all the million things I had to do.
Yeah.
But you do chip away at it, and it
Yeah.
just kind of felt like, okay, I'm ready to launch now. And yeah, it's been really nice kind of joining Therapist Corner, and like I've connected with other people like via Instagram, and it's just it adds a bit of variety as well. When I'm quite like forward thinking in general, like I like to set goals, and
Yeah.
it's almost like after you're established in the NHS, and you've got your family, and you're kind of like, well, what am I going to do now? And it just felt like a little bit of an adventure.
Yeah, it's nice to have in the jobs we do have the variety, isn't it, of different.
Yeah.
So where did your first client came from? How did you kind of get your caseload up and
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I've got friends who are in private practice. So as soon as I said, "Oh, I'm going private," they kind of, wrote my name down and said, "Oh, I'll recommend you." Like you don't always know if anything will kind of come from that, but that is where my first client came from. So I was kind of sat there on a Thursday, like it was my first Thursday as well. I was like twiddling my thumbs a bit, thinking, not sure what's going to happen. And then I got this email from this person. I was like, "Ooh!" I was so excited. And yeah, I was nervous as well, but I still obviously see people like day in, day out, but she felt different because she was like a private person.
Yeah.
But actually, yeah, like the whole treatment like went really well. And yeah, it's just, I think the money side of things is interesting because obviously in the NHS we're just not at all used to thinking about that. And
quite a
you
change?
know,
How did you manage that? Was it difficult to ask for payment at the end of the session?
so I actually kind of I looked at like on the CBT and private practice group, and like I think there was another counselling group, and just like did research on like what people did. And so I actually came, like my policy actually is to pay before the session. That was partly because it kind of tells me what I'm doing on Thursday, because I don't really have time to think much on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because I'm like drop off, work, pick up, tea, bedtime, like it just helped me to know what I'm doing. I don't really want to be sitting down on a Thursday wondering if they're going to come. So that kind of worked for me. I actually used your fee calculator.
Decide
um,
how much to charge.
yeah, yeah, so that was just useful. So I kind of just put in all my numbers, and a
Mm.
number kind of popped out, and I've kind of looked at it in comparison to other people, and I think it helps in a way for the money to be done with before the session.
Yeah.
Um,
And are clients okay with that? Because I've never done that really. I always ask at the end, but I know
okay.
some people. Have you found it okay?
Yeah, yeah, it's always kind of worked. Yeah, I think it was more me kind of worrying about it, but no, there's been kind of no questions asked. There's never been a time where like either of us, you know, between payment and the session, we're not able to do the session. So I
Yeah.
guess there might be kind of issues if that happened. But no, it generally seems to go well, and personally just feels better for me.
What strategies have you found the most helpful in terms of marketing and drawing in your first clients?
I do think it's useful to have a decent website,
Yeah.
because even if someone does recommend you, they basically recommend your website. So your website has to have all the information on it that it needs. So that's what I spent most of my my 7 months doing, kind of researching what to put on the website, how to like make it good for SEO. So yeah, I've got it split into like 3 pages. So one trauma page, one like low self-esteem page, and one anxiety page. I think you had a look at it, didn't you? But yeah, it was interesting that it really, because I can see the analytics on it.
Yeah.
So for example, this first person that came to me, I could literally see that she'd logged onto my website, gone on the homepage, gone on the about page, gone on the anxiety page, and then gone to the contact form. And I was like,
Right.
oh, that's interesting.
How she's followed, yeah, and the information that they.
Yeah. So I'm also on, like I say, I've got a business Instagram. I think that's been useful for kind of connecting with other therapists and kind of honing your niche and getting clarity kind of that way. I'm not sure how realistic it is to expect clients like from Instagram, especially with the limited amount of time I've got to kind of invest in it. But it's like a nice kind of supportive aspect, you know, that you can link from my website to your Instagram and kind of have a look.
The brand awareness.
Yeah. Yeah. So all my colours on my Instagram are the same as my website and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm also on Psychology Today.
How's
And
that?
yeah, I've really,
I've heard
sorry.
mixed things. Some people do get lots of clients, and some people just have no joy. How have you
Yeah.
found
So yeah, it's been more like the no joy, unfortunately.
it? At least you tried
um,
it. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I think it's good for SEO in the
That's it.
sense that it comes up.
Mm.
Um, and obviously my website's on there, which kind of helps in the background. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Kind of, I don't know what the secret sauce is for Psychology Today, to be honest. But yeah, I have recent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it tends to be like where your location is, or it depends.
Yeah.
I've recently inquired about going on the CBT register again, just to kind of try it. Really, I think there's maybe something about, you know, obviously
The
it's,
ACT.
yeah, yeah, just to try it. But you know, people if they are looking for CBT, then they might kind of go on there and have a
Yeah.
look, and it's got a bit of clout, maybe.
Yeah,
We'll see.
that was a register. I didn't get any. I was on it for a number of
Oh,
years.
oh, really?
And I think there was a time where it used to go in alphabetical order. So if you had a good
Oh,
A, B, or C surname, you were good to go. But below that, you weren't.
well, I'm below you. I'm an S.
Uh, But they changed that. But still, it didn't generate anything for me. But then I've heard other people. I think different things work for different people. So you've just got to try, and as long as you can measure the effects of it, you will find what works for you. But
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just in a kind of experimental stage. Like I always just thought I was going to like just see how things went over the first year and then kind of take stock of what's
yeah,
working, what doesn't.
yeah. And what have you found most rewarding about private practice so far?
Um, yeah, so I think like the variety, kind of knowing that, you know, I might do a mixture on a Thursday of like seeing clients or, you know, creating some content or, you know, prepping a blog or, you know, and, you know, doing something like this obviously is interesting. And, you know, it just kind of gives you a bit more freedom. Like I really just feel like Thursdays, like there's just endless possibilities of what I can do on a Thursday. And also it gives me the like, so for example, when I finished treatment with my first client, I took myself out for lunch because I was like, well, I can, like, I'm just free, aren't I? Like, I can just do that. And I suppose it's about remembering why you even started doing it. And it's, you know, yes, it gives you kind of the opportunity to kind of work in a slightly different way with people, you know, less kind of structure and, you know, more of a bespoke experience, you know, not kind of being, you have to stick to the protocol, you have to do this many sessions, you have to do outcome measures every week, you have to do this, that, and the other, and get checked and all this kind of thing. It's more open. The other thing I wanted to mention, which I wrote down, was the opportunity to get another supervisor. because that's really interesting, because I like learning from people. And I think, you know, when you're in the same team in the NHS, like obviously you know each other and you're all in the same boat, so it's nice to talk to someone who's not in that boat and learn from them. But yeah, like the cherry on top of all of that is, you know, doing kind of not having to do 6 clients in a day, being able to choose what you do, and yeah, have a bit of freedom, you know. So in like between like 1 o'clock and pick up time from school, I kind of generally have that as being, you know, my time to choose what I do with it. So whether it's recording this podcast, or whether it's, you know, chatting to someone else, or going for a massage, or going
Oh,
for lunch, you know, just kind of
getting that
having
balance.
fun with it.
How many clients do you aim to see in a week on your Thursdays?
Yeah, so on a Thursday, I hope to see 3 people, so like in the morning, like back to back. And then I also do see someone on a Saturday morning. So again, I really do think about my daughter a lot when it comes to all of this. So on a Saturday morning, she's got a class at 9 o'clock. So I do
Perfect.
see a client at 9 o'clock.
And then that gives you your Thursday afternoon for you, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
exactly. So yeah, that's how I try and balance it.
How do you find it financially works out compared to the other role?
Yeah, so I think it's I would still say like I'm building up at the moment. I think there's the potential for it to be like really profitable. But obviously I had a lot of outlays at like the start of it all. And I potentially, like if I had like a full week, then that would make the rest of the month like just kind of profit. Obviously, you know, you have to take tax on board with that. I think I worked out it would be like 50% profit, but I think it's partly because I pay for Zoom, for example. So someone who works 5 days a week pays for Zoom, like that would pay itself back super quick. Whereas for me, obviously it would take longer. I really wanted to set myself up as though I was working full time. I didn't want to kind of cut any corners. I wanted it to feel like, you know, a nice experience. And I've got write up as well, because that just gives me kind of peace of mind that, you know, I'm following things I should be. So yeah, I think it will work out positively. But yeah, we're still in kind of early stages, really. I think I've broken even, but
Which is fantastic. The first year in business, the first 6 months, really.
yeah,
Yeah, that's great for a new startup, isn't it?
yeah. Thank you.
And is there anything, yeah, I know you're early days, but is there anything you would do differently now with this, you know, kind of 6 months in, if you could go back to the start?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing would be like having boundaries. I think because you know, like I am doing this work on a Thursday and a Saturday, but you know, to kind of protect my like Sundays, and especially on my NHS days, because especially like Monday to Wednesday, and we're back in the office now, seeing people like face to face, and I do like supervision, and you know, and then also like drop off and pick up, etc. Like I said, and I just don't have time to think about private practice on those days. But I used to kind of feel like if I ever had like a spare 5 minutes, I should like do something, or you know, I had to like delete Canva off my phone because I'd be like, oh, I'll just quickly make a Canva post, or but actually no, like it quickly can tip into feeling quite overwhelmed. So I'd be more kind of structured. I implemented this like before Christmas, really, because I could feel it was affecting me. The idea that I just think now, okay, when am I going to work this week, and what like really protect that time, and then really go for it in that time.
Yeah.
But don't try and do a bit of this or a bit of that in different places.
Yeah.
I'd also say about Instagram, yeah, really kind of don't overestimate how important it is in terms of like expecting to get clients from there. I think it can really work for people if they've got all the time in the world, but I know a lot of people when they start private practice, they do start part-time. So it's great to like get it set up, and you know, I do have like a content plan of like, you know, 3 posts a week that I try and make in advance. But to sell on Instagram, I mean, that is just a different beast. So just don't even bother trying that.
I've done Instagram a long time, and I've very rarely get clients through it. I've made, like you say, nice connections with other therapists, and it's been great for brand awareness. But that's not how people look for a therapist. They Google,
No.
find a website, don't they? And that's how I'd look. I'd ask a friend, and then I'd Google it. That's how.
Yeah, or look on one of the like directories or something. But yeah, it's just it's a nice to have, but it's not an essential, and it's definitely not worth like putting. I was kind of likening it with a friend to it being like a busy marketplace. Like it feels like you're busy doing something on Instagram, but what you're not doing is getting clients. So, you know, it's nice to visit and nice to spend some time there, but you know, with the strategy, you actually wouldn't prioritize that above other things like blogging or networking or whatever it might be.
Absolutely. There's other ways that are more effective. And you've touched on it already, but have you found, how are you keeping a good work-life balance? It sounds like you've created quite a good framework around it.
Yeah, so I think I've kind of almost been forced to, because I was like getting like by the end of September, to be honest with you, I was a bit frazzled. So I really just thought, okay, I really need to choose when to do private practice stuff and when to just be mum, and you know, and having to like negotiate like with my husband, really being like, okay, I need to do this today, so you need to do that, and he's doing a PhD, so he gets his time too. um, and yeah, so boundaries, like I've been talking about boundaries for like the last few weeks, just being like, I need to keep them. And yeah, literally over Christmas, I deleted Instagram off my phone, Facebook off my phone,
How did
Canva off my
that feel?
phone.
What was that like? Did you feel like disconnected from the world, or was it nice and freeing?
Yeah, I mean, it was quite freeing, to be honest. My brain did think like, oh, I wonder what I'm missing. But then I was like, well, probably nothing, because everyone else is just having Christmas. And, you
Yeah.
know, I just kind of thought, you know, it'll still be there. Like it's not going anywhere. And actually, it would be really beneficial for me to just switch off. So I did like a little Merry Christmas post, and then like I didn't come back until this week, or I think I might have done something on Friday to like show willing.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, no, it was nice. It was nice, and definitely deleting Canva off my phone. That was a good move, because I heard on a different podcast this a lady had a work phone that doesn't leave the office. And I was like, that's so interesting. Like, you're not actually obliged to carry your work phone around with you at all times and be like constantly available. Like, you can just
No.
leave it in your office. So it's similar now with my laptop. Like, I don't take my laptop around the house. Like, if I'm coming to do something for private practice, I have to come in here and set myself up to do it and have agreed the time. And, you know, I can't just like willy nilly come in and do a bit of this. Like, I've literally made it impossible for me to do that.
That's really good, because it can bleed into every area of your life, because you enjoy it as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
get the sense you enjoy the same kind of stuff I do, the variety and the creativity, and it's exciting, but you do have to boundary it, otherwise you just get burnt out and fed up with it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I just don't want to get frazzled again. And
Yeah.
like I said, you know, I've got my daughter. Like, you know, she's 4, and you know, she needs me. So I can't wear all my hats at once. Like, I have to take them off and put the other one on, and you know, be present for what I'm doing.
Yeah, so she's good at focusing you in on where you need to be and your priority.
Yeah, yeah.
Have there been any other big challenges that you've had?
um, I mean, to be honest, I still view it as a challenge to like get clients, because I'm really trying not to give in to the temptation to go to like referral companies, because I, I think it was a strapline of the Therapist Corner that made me think about it, that, you know, it's kind of for new therapists, but also therapists wanting to focus on self-funded. It's almost like referral companies are something that you have to then get out of later. So I'm like, well, don't even go into it then if it becomes a challenge to get out of it. So I suppose the challenge is,
You're setting up your business to attract self-funding clients, which is why you've put the effort into your website and stuff,
yeah,
doing it later. So it's nice.
yeah. So exactly. So I feel like my supervisor said it the other day, like just kind of holding my nerve and, you know, just kind of putting the work in and knowing that self-funders will come. And yeah, so just kind of, yeah, just that's a challenge to kind of, yeah, wait and also just, yeah, you don't want to kind of sell yourself short. And I really, on a Thursday, don't want another boss. That's not why I went into private practice.
Actually, where I ended up with 10. I was like, my God, I've created a monster. And I was out to like all these referral companies. I was like, what have I done? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
With
You just
10 different systems, 10 different bosses. Oh my God. And that was a pickle to get out of. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I'm still kind of establishing myself. And but you know, whenever you kind of have these moments where you think like, oh, I wonder if anyone's going to come through, then I got like an email yesterday of someone that started this morning.
Yeah.
So you know, it does happen, and sometimes it just happens when you
I
least
think you're
expect it.
right that you have to hold your nerve, even though I've been doing it a long time. I've been writing the book for the last year, so I've literally not done any marketing. I've switched my messaging all to therapists to advertise Therapist Corner. So in terms of clients, that stops. I'm like, okay, this is gonna, I feel that the referrals have reduced. And then November, December, really quiet. And I was like, oh gosh, I'm going to have to really work at this come January, but I've had some referrals come in. So, and
Yeah.
that was a post that I did ages ago. So you just
Okay.
hold your nerve and it does come. And I think you can make yourself busy like with referral companies and doing other stuff, but it's nice that you've got that network and people refer to you. And when you say, yes, I can take people on, people will remember that. And
Yeah. And I'm
yeah.
not even looking for that many people, so it's almost not worth the hassle of like getting involved with anyone else. So even though like especially like before Christmas, like my first client finished like 2 weeks before Christmas, and then my other client just like had quite a long gap. But I also, you know, didn't want to work 52 weeks of the year. Like I literally set my fee according to working like 44 weeks of the year or something. So you know, I was like, well, this is just a week off. Like, this is what I planned for. And, you know, I took my daughter to the pantomime on the Thursday before Christmas because I was like, well, I'm free. Like, let's go and do it. You know, that's also what it's all about. It's about remembering the flexibility that you were hoping for.
My supervisor always has 6 weeks summer holidays off. It's
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it took her a time to kind of get, save the money and get into the routine with clients. But now in my head, I have, an extra couple of supervisions in the beginning of July, then she's off. And then I like book in for day one when she gets, I have a couple in that first few weeks. So everybody, her business has got used to her having that 6 weeks off. And the first time she did it, I was like, you're going where for 6 weeks? But you see, you can make your businesses work for you. I think lots of parents do it for that reason, don't they? To give
Yeah.
that flexibility and that lifestyle. If you could
Yeah.
give anybody who is like thinking about starting out some advice, what would be your advice that you'd give them?
Yeah. So I would definitely take stock of like what you need to do to set up. So again, without kind of just telling you that I've bought all of your products, Sarah, I did buy your checklist. And I did that quite early on, just as a way to kind of get an awareness of exactly kind of what I needed to do. And then, you know, it's partly like if that document puts you off, then like you're not ready. So if you look through it and you think, oh yeah, no, actually I'm up for like getting some of this stuff done, then that's like a good sign that, you know, you've got the headspace to do it. And I would recommend a long kind of lead up to it, because it just felt more manageable. And I personally like set a spreadsheet up, and like put all my tasks in and like identified like roughly how long they might take and how easy or difficult they might be. And I kind of started momentum, you know, doing some easy things first and then kind of worked up to bigger things. And yeah, I would encourage you to like connect with other people in private practice, you know, to kind of get some kind of insights into, you know, what's going on. And, you know, I do recommend that people do get on Instagram. I just don't get sucked into the vortex of it. You know, just kind of, it's a business tool, but it's not your whole purpose when you're
And
a
it's
business.
somebody else's platform, whereas when you work and do blog posts or improve the copy on your website, that's a platform that you own. So
Yeah.
there's no algorithm in it, you know, it's you're building your own empire. When you're doing Instagram, it's somebody else's place, Mark Zuckerberg's platform.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so yeah, that's what, and you know, I would just kind of, yeah, encourage people to, you know, really think about, you know, doing it, because it does, there are so many kind of benefits to it, you know, freedom, variety, you know, a different way to make money, connection with other people, and then, you know, a different way of working. So yeah, I definitely recommend it.
And what are your plans going forward? Where do you see your practice going?
Yeah, so I'd like to build it, you know, if I could in the future, like drop another day in the NHS, like that would be great. I don't have big like visions at the moment of like quitting the NHS completely. I think I'd need to kind of see how this goes, you know, for longer. But I'm definitely keen to, you know, kind of branch out into like other things. So I'm really interested in like podcasting and you know, just connecting with other people, and just like attending like maybe like workshops and things that I wouldn't necessarily be able to do, because obviously in the NHS like you have to like take time off to do it. So I'm just excited of the possibilities of, you know, what I can get up to. But yeah, I suppose it's not fully defined. I'm just enjoying things kind of as it is, but knowing that, you know, I'd love it to grow and I'd love to expand, you know, the variety of things that I'm doing.
Yeah. So it's been the right decision for you then?
Yeah, 100%. Like it's really, it gets my creative mind working. You know, connection is one of my core values. So it's really nice to like chat to you now, and like I say, just, you know, get involved with different things. It's kind of really helping me feel fulfilled and not just like I'm on a NHS like treadmill. Like it's kind of, Thursday is something that I really look forward to. And it's a bonus that I get like paid money for.
Work. And tell us a bit about your business. Where can people find you? Where are the best places? What's your website called? I will link to it all. And do you do supervision or coaching? And what type of clients are you interested in seeing?
Yeah, so I'm Natasha Psychotherapy, so that's my handle on Instagram. My website is www.natashapsychotherapy.com. So yeah, I see clients to help them like recover from you know, traumatic events, to kind of boost confidence, reduce anxiety, and yeah, I'm not offering supervision as yet, but that is something that I may look into in the future. And yeah, I haven't, I need to, my blog is pending. So you can look out for that. Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic.
thank
I
you.
shall link all that in the show notes. Thank you so much. I know people will find it really useful because it's at the start of the journey or when you're just thinking about it, it's great to hear these stories, isn't it? And that you're doing so well, so quickly as well.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, no, it's been great to chat to you.
Take care.
Thank you.